It was a silent night, and the sky seemed to hold all the answers she was looking for, even though it remained silent. The stars twinkled as if trying to talk, but the protagonist just stared at that distant spectacle, lost in thought. She felt an emptiness she couldn't explain, an absence that went beyond ordinary loneliness. It was as if something essential was missing in her life, something that no achievement, friendship, or experience seemed to fill. In that stillness, she reflected on the paths that had brought her there. The disappointments in love still hovered like shadows, whispering memories of broken promises and abrupt endings. Even so, something in her heart would not give in to skepticism. She had faith that there was more waiting for her, a deep and true connection that, somehow, already existed, even if she had not yet found it. Under the starry sky, she said a silent prayer. It was not just a prayer for love, but for clarity, for a sign that the universe truly heard her. If there is something reserved for me, she thought, show me. Show me so that I have no doubt. And then, as the night wore on, a feeling of tranquility began to envelop her heart. She didn't know that this night would mark the beginning of a journey that would transform her life. The next day, her routine seemed to go on as usual, but there was something different in the air. It was a feeling she couldn't quite identify, as if the universe was preparing a surprise. And that was exactly what happened. In the middle of an ordinary afternoon, she entered a small cafe to escape the hustle and bustle of the streets. While waiting in line, she felt a presence, a gaze. When she turned around, her eyes met his. He was an ordinary man, at least at first glance, but there was something in his expression that seemed loaded with meaning. The encounter lasted only seconds, but it was enough to make her heart race. He smiled shyly and looked away, but the impact had already been made. As she left the cafe, she couldn't stop thinking about that moment. Who was he? Why did that exchange of glances seem so intense? It was as if something in her had been recognized, even without words. She shook her head, trying to shake off the feeling that this could be more than a chance encounter. Little did she know that this moment would only be the beginning of something much bigger. After that meeting in the coffee shop, life seemed to go on as normal, but she couldn't forget the look in his eyes. Days passed, and she began to believe that perhaps it was just a common coincidence. Until, unexpectedly, they crossed paths again. This time, it was in a bookstore. She was distracted, leafing through a book, when she looked up, there he was, standing in the next section, with a book in his hands. Her heart raced immediately. He recognized her too, and the shy smile they exchanged seemed familiar, like a reunion between old acquaintances. They didn't talk at that moment, but this second encounter intrigued her. Two chance encounters in such different places? It was hard to ignore. The encounters continued. They began to cross paths in the most unlikely places: an open-air market, a bus stop, even at the entrance to a park where she liked to walk. Each time this happened, she felt a mixture of curiosity and surprise. Was the universe trying to tell her something? She began to realize that there was a pattern, an invisible force that seemed to align them in the same space. It wasn't just a matter of being in the right place at the right time. It was as if something bigger was coordinating the events. The idea that these coincidences were not the work of chance began to take root in her mind. Even without knowing him deeply, she felt that there was something special. An invisible thread connected them, and she was beginning to believe that perhaps it was the universe itself pulling those strings. With each new encounter, the feeling of familiarity grew stronger. She was convinced that there was something bigger at work, but she still had doubts. What if this was all just a game of her own imagination? Fate seemed to have a peculiar way of orchestrating their encounters. In one such seemingly chance encounter, as the sun was beginning to set and the afternoon shadows were lengthening, they found themselves in a park. She was sitting on a bench, reading a book, and he passed by her, noticing the familiarity of the scene. Without hesitation, he approached her and, with a smile, asked, "Do you come here often too?" She looked at him, a little surprised, but at the same time she felt as if his question was natural, as if she had already known him from somewhere. The conversation flowed with unexpected ease. They started talking about books, movies, and soon, about their lives. Every word they exchanged seemed to fit together perfectly, as if it had been there forever, waiting to happen. There was no rush, no tension. Just a feeling that this moment was what it was supposed to be. She felt at ease like never before. The fact that they were silent for a few seconds didn't feel uncomfortable. It was a peace she rarely felt around other people. That feeling of knowing each other without needing explanations, of connecting on a deeper level, something beyond words. She had never felt such a strong affinity with someone. Something spiritual seemed to connect their souls, as if, even without saying anything, there was a mutual understanding. Deep down, she knew that the universe was guiding her towards something transformative. And, at that moment, she was willing to go with the flow. After that day in the park, something changed deep inside her. It wasn't just a passing feeling. It was as if a door had opened in her heart, revealing an even deeper connection with him, something she couldn't explain. But the strangest thing began to happen when the nights came. She began to dream about him. At first, the dreams were vague and distant, but they soon became more vivid and realistic. In one of the dreams, she was in a candlelit room, and he was there, looking at her with a silent intensity. No words were spoken, but the feeling that they were sharing a unique moment was palpable. She woke up every morning with the feeling that the dream had not been just a dream. Something about him seemed to have marked her soul in a way that she could not ignore. The dreams continued. Each night brought a new message, a new sensation, something that connected her more to him, as if he were a part of her life that she had not yet discovered. She did not know if it was a sign from the universe or a projection of her own desires, but she could not deny the emotional depth that these dreams brought. With each dawn, she woke with a lighter heart, but also with the feeling that something was about to happen. It was as if the universe was showing her, while she slept, what she could not yet fully perceive while awake. The signs began to intensify in ways that she could no longer ignore. One ordinary day, as she boarded a bus, the same song that had played in her dream that night appeared. She sat up and, for a moment, almost believed that the universe was playing a trick on her. His name appeared on a sign on the street. The numbers that she had seen so often, 1111, began to become a constant presence in her life, and she felt an almost magical connection to these numbers. Everything around her seemed aligned to guide her towards him. She looked at these coincidences with a mixture of fascination and trepidation. Were they just coincidences? Or was the universe really trying to communicate something to her? She began to wonder if what was happening was more than simple encounters or coincidences. There was something bigger at work, something that she could not fully understand, but that she was beginning to feel deeply. She was no longer sure what it meant, but the evidence was clear. Something was being prepared for her. A part of her wanted to ignore the signs, fearing that it was all an illusion, but another part knew that the universe would not make these signs appear without reason. The weight of the signs was increasingly difficult to ignore. She felt his presence, even without seeing him. Sometimes, in the silence of her daily life, she heard his voice in her thoughts, as if he were there, by her side. It was a strange sensation, as if their connection was deeper than she imagined. She could feel it deep in her heart. The doubt still persisted, but something deep inside her was beginning to become clear. The voice of her heart, which had previously been muffled by fear and insecurities, now rose with confidence. "You know what you need to do," she whispered to herself. More and more, she found herself giving in to that feeling, to that invisible force that guided her towards him. It was difficult to deny what was happening. The fear of exposing herself, of being vulnerable, was still there, but the desire to follow this intuition was stronger. She didn't know exactly where it would lead her, but she knew she had to trust. It wasn't just about giving love a chance, but about surrendering herself to something bigger, something she couldn't see but felt deeply. In her moments of introspection, she understood that the heart doesn't lie. It knew that by following this path, she was heading in the right direction. And so, with a deep sigh, she decided that she would follow the voice of her heart, without any further questions. The time had come to act. The fear was still there, like a distant shadow, but she felt that the moment had finally arrived. She knew that she could no longer wait for the universe to give her a little push. What she was looking for was in front of her, and the only thing left was to take the first step. Even if it was small, even if uncertainty still hung in the air, she knew that was what she had to do. She took a deep breath and prepared herself. The cafe, where they had first met, seemed like the perfect place for this moment. With her heart racing and her mind full of confused thoughts, she entered the place, looking around. He was there, as always, with that serene smile on his face. Their eyes met, and for an instant, everything around them disappeared. It was just him and her. He approached, and the sound of the outside world fell silent. Time seemed to stop as he smiled softly, as if he knew exactly what she was feeling. She didn't say a word for a few seconds, but it wasn't necessary. The silence between them was more eloquent than any words they could exchange. There, in that moment, she knew she had taken the first step, and that the direction she would take from there would be guided by something much deeper. She was ready. The universe had guided her to that point, and now, she would surrender herself to whatever came next. The encounters between her and him began to happen more frequently. Each time they saw each other, the connection deepened, and the feeling that this was something greater than a simple coincidence became clearer. The words, once shy and careful, now flowed naturally. They talked about their dreams, their pains, their life stories, and each conversation seemed to pull out a deeper layer of what they both kept inside their chests. At that moment, she knew that something was growing between them. But what exactly was it? She had asked herself many times about it, but now, when she looked into his eyes, she knew the answer. She loved him. The feeling revealed itself to her in a simple but powerful way. There was no denying it. What she felt for him was deep and true. It was as if all the pieces of her life fit together perfectly in that moment. He, in turn, seemed to feel the same, although perhaps he didn't know how to express it. But the gestures, the looks, the way he cared about every word she said, all of this spoke more than words ever could. It was as if their souls were already intertwined in an invisible way, waiting for the right moment to manifest in the physical world. And then, on a quiet afternoon, as they walked side by side, he finally looked her in the eyes and said, "I feel the same. Something inside me always knew I would find you." In that moment, his words were like a weight lifted off her shoulders. It was as if all the fear and doubts finally dissipated. They were ready to live what the universe had prepared for them. Now that the words had been said, the feeling of relief and depth in their relationship expanded with each encounter. They were aware that something great was uniting them, and most importantly, they were both willing to surrender to that love. But what did surrender really mean? For her, surrender was not just about leaving her heart open, but about fully trusting the path that the universe had prepared for her. It was about allowing herself to be vulnerable and embracing the unknown, with the certainty that the journey would take her where she was supposed to go. They didn't have all the answers, but that no longer seemed to matter. The fear of failure, of losing control, disappeared every time they were together. The connection between them was palpable and real, something that went beyond the physical. It was as if they were finding each other again, as if their souls recognized each other and aligned, regardless of time or circumstances. Every moment with him brought her more clarity about what really mattered. She learned to trust not only him, but herself. She knew that when she surrenders to love in a pure way, the universe reciprocates in ways that go beyond comprehension. As their relationship progressed, their love became stronger and clearer. They learned to be two whole individuals, who, when united, created a force that propelled them towards a shared future. The love they shared was authentic and powerful, guided by mutual trust and the certainty that together they could face anything. She did not know where the future would take them, but now she was ready to live it by his side, with an open heart and a soul full of gratitude. Their surrender was total, and their love was about to transform everything around them. Over time, their relationship became something natural, as if they had been made for each other. The first moments of uncertainty were replaced by a deep trust that seemed to grow with each passing day. Their love needed no grand declarations, because everything that happened between them was felt in the smallest actions. The daily gestures, the silent conversations, the gentle touches, all of this formed the basis of a strong and true bond. She felt that she had finally found the place where they belonged, and the most beautiful thing was realizing that he felt the same. It was not just about being together, but about mutual growth. They completed each other in a way that could not be explained, only experienced. Their surrender to love was total, and this transformed them every day. The universe seemed to confirm, with each step, that they were where they were supposed to be. In one of the simplest moments, during a walk in the open air, she looked at him and felt immense gratitude. Life did not have to be perfect, but with him, she felt at peace. Their love was not about the absence of problems, but about facing them together, side by side. It was a genuine partnership, where mutual support and respect became the cornerstones. She knew that their love had reached a place of complete understanding, and that was the most precious thing. With every shared smile, with every exchanged look, she felt closer to him. It was as if they were blossoming together, like two flowers growing in the same direction, fed by the light of love and the strength of a connection that could not be broken. Weeks passed, and their relationship only deepened. But it was in a particularly peaceful moment that something she had imagined for so long finally happened. A confirmation, a sign from the universe that everything they were experiencing was, in fact, a divine gift. They were sitting by the river, in the same place where they had first met, watching the movement of the water and the sky that began to change color with the sunset. She looked at him and, without words, knew that there, in that moment, everything made sense. The love she felt for him, the trust that had developed, the way they complemented each other, it all had a purpose. She felt the energy around her intensify, as if the universe was sending her a direct message. The sky seemed brighter, the stars brighter, and she knew without a shadow of a doubt that he was the person she was meant to be with. That was when he spoke, calmly but profoundly. I feel like our connection goes beyond anything I've ever experienced. Like it was written somewhere, and we are just fulfilling a destiny. He looked into her eyes, and she knew that this wasn't just a coincidence. The perfect synchronization of their lives, the signs she had received, the sense of purpose in everything they were experiencing, it was divine. She smiled, feeling the confirmation in every cell of her body. No more words were needed. The universe had confirmed what she already knew. They were on the right path, side by side, and nothing could separate them. Their love was true, deep, and had been blessed by the cosmic energy itself. She surrendered herself to that moment with all gratitude and certainty that her path was completely aligned with his. They were, finally, where they were meant to be. Time now seemed to be a constant feeling of discovery and harmony. They had already gone through so many phases, challenges and moments of introspection, that today they found themselves at the peak of a journey that seemed, in fact, made to last. Each day by his side was a reminder that the universe, in some mysterious way, had brought her to this point, where love not only flourished, but expanded with each new day. She looked to the future with eyes full of hope and confidence, but also with a new understanding. What had once seemed like a constant search for answers became a journey full of learning, mutual growth, and constant support. She knew that, by his side, there was nothing they could not face. Love was no longer just a promise or an expectation. It was real, tangible, built on the simple gestures of everyday life, on the mutual understanding and respect they shared. The moments of doubt were behind them, replaced by serene faith in what was to come. She no longer saw herself as a woman searching for something or someone, but as a complete woman who had found in another being a soul that would accompany her every step of the way. Together, the future seemed to be not only a possibility, but a certainty. The universe seemed to be telling her, silently, that everything had been planned with care and precision. Now, she felt, with all her essence, that there was no way it could go wrong. Their future would be written with patience, love, and the unbreakable strength of the connection they had created. They were ready to continue the story, together, side by side, without fear of what would come next. With him, she finally felt that she had found her home. Time, like an invisible line, led them to a place where the truth of their love became increasingly clear. It was not just about living together. It was about the way souls met and recognized each other, as if destiny had intertwined their paths with the precision of a divine design. Every shared laugh, every difficulty faced, every dream told in the half-light of the night, made the bond between them grow stronger. She, who once doubted, was now no longer afraid. Their love was a silent promise that was fulfilled with each new step taken. There was no longer room for uncertainty, because what they felt for each other transcended any doubt or fear. The universe had shown them the signs, and they had followed them, guided by a greater force, a force that now enveloped them calmly, like an invisible but real embrace. When she looked at him, she knew that their journey had no turning back. It was no longer a walk through life. It was a walk alongside him, as if together they were stronger than alone. They had built something genuine, something that would stand the test of time. The love was not perfect, but it was real. And this reality became more beautiful every day, because it was sustained by trust, respect, and mutual surrender. She didn't know what the future would hold for them, but now, with him by her side, she felt a deep peace. Life would be whatever they wanted it to be, but now, the certainty that they were on the right path made everything clearer. Together, they could conquer anything, face any storm and smile at every sunrise. They had found, in their love, the perfect balance, and that was enough. Fate had united them indissolubly, and she wanted nothing more than to continue living that love, with him, forever. Thank you very much for following every step of this journey with us. If you felt that this message touched your heart and brought something of value to your life, confirm the receipt of this special message with the number 333 in the comments. This helps us know that you received the blessings sent directly to you. Don't forget to join our channel, subscribe and activate the notification bell to be the first to receive the next powerful messages from the angels. Stay tuned, because in our next videos, more guidance and signs will be ready to guide you on your path. Always remember, the angels are with you, and your journey of transformation continues. See you soon.